motion for today. This House believes that it is time for Malaysia to introduce a ban on party hopping. Now, the first question I would like to ask Team Government is this. If you agree that it is time for Malaysia to impose a ban on party hopping, what is your mechanism, ladies and gentlemen? Team Government in their first speech has not outlined how they will tackle the problem of party hopping with their ban. They have not said anything about how they will run their ban. There is no methodology to their debate. Ladies and gentlemen, I challenge Team Government to come up with a mechanism which they haven't. In fact, they should, but they haven't, ladies and gentlemen. So simply said, there is no backbone. So let's move on to the first speaker, shall we? Now, she said that it has a responsibility, that the government has a responsibility to protect my vote, and that it should not be disregarded, and all that, and fight for fairness, and yada, yada, yada. And ladies and gentlemen, we will prove as Team Opposition that we stand for fairness, that we stand for equality in the same principle that it is a democracy. But ladies and gentlemen, we simply have a different method of doing it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me get this straight once and for all. Here is a ban on party hopping because it is your political right to change party. However, ladies and gentlemen, for ulterior motives, it is not legal at all. What do I mean by ulterior motives, ladies and gentlemen? Let's think about the main reason why people are so skeptical about party hoppers. Party hoppers, there is a perception that party hopping happens because of corruption. And ladies and gentlemen, the thing we are against is corruption, because corruption is what destroys the vote. Corruption to change your party is what disregards your vote, ladies and gentlemen. This is the issue that Team Government failed to recognize in the first place. And ladies and gentlemen, we believe that party hopping is an issue, but not a problem to the extent that it needs to be banned. So ladies and gentlemen, let me get this straight. You can party hop, but you must go through the legal election process if the absolute majority is lost. Now, let me move on to my mechanism, ladies and gentlemen. This is where it needs to be really clear, and I will be clear on this. If the person party hops and the ruling party loses the absolute majority, there is election, and election is called denied man. Now, the election is called by the Election Commission and not by the ruling party.
Does that mean that every single time I decide that I don't want to become an MPN anymore, we're going to have a by-election every single time?
Now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, ma'am. Now, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, I did say when you lose the absolute majority, that's one. And two, this is the fairness that you were standing for in the first place, Madam Speaker. You said fairness, this is fairness. We're giving it to you. This is what we stand for, fairness, equality. Everything that you said in your first speaker, Madam. You said fairness, you said equality, you said constitutionality. Here it is, staring at you in the face. Constitutionality. If you lose the absolute majority, you have to have an election. Simple as that. That is democracy. That is Malaysia. Selamat datang ke Malaysia. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Electoral Commission. It is the Electoral Commission's responsibility tonight, ma'am, to hold the election and to decide the legitimacy of this party hopping. Now, let me give you a situation. Person A joins Party A. Party A wins the election. Person A then decides, I don't agree with Party A and I want to switch to Party B. And he switches to Party B. If the ruling majority is not lost, then by all means go ahead, ladies and gentlemen, because the ruling majority still continues. But if the ruling majority is lost to the point that you need to call an election, by all means do so. Yes,
So don't you think that by re-electing every single time there are more harm?
Don't you think by re-electing every single time you're standing for democracy and equality and fairness, which you are advocating for, Team Government? Do you not realize, do you not see? Ladies and gentlemen, open your eyes. Who is fighting for fairness? Team Opposition is fighting for fairness here, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you think by calling by-elections you have more harm? Ladies and gentlemen, I will address this in my point now. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the point by myself will be that the interests of the people are protected. Why? Let's use the situation I said once again. This decision to have the election puts the power back into the people's hands to decide on the legitimacy of the government that is being put into power. And if the people decide that this is the place they want, that they decide that the party hopping is legitimate power, so be it. Because, ladies and gentlemen, that is democracy, that is fairness, that is equality, and that is the efficiency of the system, ladies and gentlemen. It is as simple as that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have the government claiming that by-elections cause harm. But, ladies and gentlemen, this is a direct contradiction to what they just said. They say fairness, they say equality. Where is the fairness and equality if you don't have the by-election, ladies and gentlemen? You want to test the legitimacy of the government? If there is nothing to hide, you shall not hide, ladies and gentlemen. That is the principle that we put forward today. If the absolute majority is lost and the people want the government there anyways, they will vote. And this is the power to the people. This is democracy in its very essence. This is democracy putting the power back into the people's hands. That is protecting the vote, which you think and which you regard high and mighty in that matter. This is the power of putting it back to the commission to have the election, to prove that the government is legitimate, to prove that party hopping is not a problem, but an issue. But ladies and gentlemen, let me get this straight. Party hopping is perfectly fine, as will be proved by my second speaker in his points, that it is the right of every person, including politicians who are in power, to change their political stance, and how it is a method to prove the transparency and effectiveness of the election system and ultimately the government in hand. And with all that I have said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to wrap up my case with this. Democracy. What is democracy? It is power to the people. What is our mechanism? Our mechanism gives you that power, gives you that ability to prove that your government is the one that is legitimate. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your time.